welcome to Gaming News Weekly, your weekly news show every Friday at 5 p.m. with your hosts, me, I'm Rich, and my good friend Tabs. Say hello, mate.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Richmas.
Yo. So we're going to got 3 topics for you this week, quite interesting. We'll get into them very shortly. We'll finish with everything else, but we'll start every week. We'll start tonight, like we do every week, with what we've been playing this week. So, Tabs, why don't you tell us what you've been playing this week?
Yeah, 2 main things really. So, continuing PES, Master League. I've got one going that's my own personal Master League, and then of course we have our own Master League that we're finding time for here and there. It's difficult, isn't it? And it takes so long, to go through a whole season. But we're starting to make some progress. We've got some new signings in. I feel like we're turning the corner. But yeah. And then the big, I suppose, kind of topical one is Resident Evil 8 Village.
Nice.
So started that, not too far into it, playing it with the missus. So we're taking it slow, partly because she struggles with motion sickness, but also just finding time, in an evening and the energy to invest in it, because horror games don't come easily to me either. I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat and they stress me out. But yeah, I have to say, impressions just in a nutshell, it's really fun. It's like a giant elaborate ghost train, is how I would put it. It's the edges are softened more so than any other Resident Evil I've played before. And yeah, it feels like, I say it's a ghost train because even though there's freedom of movement, of course, you feel very much like it's a ride, like you're being shuffled along a path, with set pieces, scattered around you. And it's not a bad thing, it's fun, but I think, there's going to be a trade-off there for certain fans of the series who might not like that quite as much. But I've got to say, the design, the art design, character design, it's incredible. And anybody who likes Tim Burton, who, loves Halloween or horrors, is just going to be in love with this game. So yeah, for me, not played loads of it, but it's up there, 8, 9 out of 10.
Wow.
And I'm really excited to hopefully play some later today and push it on even further. But that's enough about that, Rich. Why don't you tell us what you've mostly been playing this week?
Yeah, it's interesting because one of our other friends is also playing Resi Evil, and he's also speaking highly. I think he's a bit further than you, but he's also speaking quite highly of it. So yeah, praise indeed. Me this week, mainly just a bit of Gran Turismo at the weekend, which was good fun, and then I played a little bit of Soulstorm last night, and then just PES with you, Tabs. I think we're finally starting to find our feet as a team, as in you and me, in terms of how we're linking up and stuff. And I think we're starting to, last night felt like one of the big changes. We were defending well, passing it around well between us, and seeing each other's runs and stuff. So that was good to finally start to see some headway with that. So yeah, it's good fun.
Isn't it? It's like there's common sense or football sense in real life. So you know when to play the through ball, when to play a safe move. But then there's PES sense, which is you learning and understanding the AI, the animations, some of the drawback. And that's what we've had to kind of get better at, I think. I think we've got there now.
Absolutely. And then obviously once you realise that, then you work around its sort of foibles, should we say, and that's how it becomes, I guess, more entertaining moving forward. So yeah, that's it really. That's what I've been playing. Yeah.
Let us know, BArcadians, what you've been playing down in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And without further ado, let's crash into the news. So first up, we have got DK Rumours, and my missus is very excited about this. So let's get into it. And this comes from Nintendo Life. Donkey Kong is one of Nintendo's oldest video game characters, and while the series has some massive releases over the years, Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong 64 being 2 notable examples, the franchise has remained pretty dormant since Tropical Freeze, which made its debut on the Wii U back in 2014, before being ported to the Switch in 2018. However, we say?
You've got that, haven't you?
Yeah, Mrs. loves it. She says it does definitely hark back to Donkey Kong on the NES. I think she was her favourite. However, there are rumours that Nintendo is looking to resurrect the series by bringing it in-house, with development currently underway at Nintendo EPD, the team responsible for Super Mario Odyssey. So, pretty impressive team. YouTuber Lonely Goomba has mentioned the rumour in passing on social media, and other sources have also discussed it. But Nintendo Life can confirm that he has heard the same rumour from an independent and very trusted source, which would appear to lend the report some degree of legitimacy. However, our sources claims that the game will be 2D or 2.5D if you prefer, and not 3D. So I'm guessing that means more of a side-scroller type one, which is sort of how the old Donkey Kongs were, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they obviously used pre-rendered back on the old SNES days, which at the time was amazing. But yeah, I presume this is going to be really fundamentally 2D, but created with, how would you say, Rich, like polygonal geometry. It's going to be 3D. Yeah,
I mean, I would say Soulstorm's a bit like that, because the camera is very fixed and it's like moving across, but the world is sort of 3D. It's got depth to it.
Yeah, maybe there's a bit of depth there, a bit of play there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see something, if they're going to do this, something a bit more like 3D Worlds with Donkey Kong, just because.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah.
That just gives it a little bit more scale and a bit more scope to do new things. We've not really seen that before. Whereas if it's going to be this kind of 2.5D, well, that sounds quite similar, doesn't it, to Tropical Freeze?
Well, this is it. You'd like to see them move the series on a bit. I like the series and it's good fun and that, but they're all very similar. I'd like them to move it on. Mario was a side scroller. Well, it's an open world type game now, or sort of. Why can't they move Donkey Kong on to be, more open world, or, do something different with it? Why does it have to be, generic to the formulaic, precedent that's been set in previous series? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do here. I'm excited for this, and obviously the missus is very excited. It's one of her favourite franchises, so, yeah.
You know what I'd love to see, mate? This is harebrained, as ever with me. But I'd love to see, Overwatch, so a hero shooter, basically, I think they call them. I'd love to see them do something like that with Donkey Kong. I just think you've got quite a cast of characters there, haven't you, throughout the series?
Yeah.
That you could really, give unique skill sets to. And obviously we've seen Nintendo do something akin to that sort of popularity with Splatoon, which is essentially like an online shooter. So I think this will be, Donkey Kong would be the perfect series to do something like a hero shooter. They won't do that. I'm sure it's slim to none, and obviously based on these rumours, it doesn't seem to suggest that. But I think if I was at Nintendo, that's what I'd be. I'd be asking.
Like I say, it would definitely be nice to see something a little bit different, and rather than what we've sort of seen before. Otherwise, are we really just seeing like a touch of gloss on what was Tropical Freeze with some different background stuff? So I hope they think more forward with this game. But yeah, we'll have to see. It does sound, from what I've read, that potentially we're going to see some news on that at E3, which, we're not too far away from that now, so we'll have to stay tuned to see what happens there. But, Tabs, do you want to move us on?
Yeah, story number 2 this week, Ubisoft strat-shift. So this comes courtesy of Video Games Chronicle, and this is what they had to say. Ubisoft is shifting away from its traditional strategy of releasing 3 to 4 premium AAA titles each year, but plans to launch high-end free-to-play games for all its biggest franchises. The company provided an update of its game development strategy during its full-year earnings call on Tuesday, when it said it intends to be less reliant on AAA releases as part of its overall product mix. In line with the evolution of our high-quality lineup that is increasingly diverse, we're moving on from our prior comment regarding releasing 3 to 4 premium AAAs per year, said Ubisoft's Chief Financial Officer, Frederick Duguay.
I mean, I'll just interrupt you there. When they said we're going to move away from releasing 3 to 4 AAA titles each year, were they saying that tongue-in-cheek? Because they're not currently releasing 3 to 4 AAA titles a year. They're releasing maybe one AAA title and then a load of canon fodder.
Yeah, I suppose that's subjective, isn't it, in the eye of the beholder, but now I know where you're coming from with that. I should point out, they have responded to this in a sense. I think they're worried that people are, that by suggesting this, they're moving away from AAA titles altogether. They've come out to later kind of say, we're not going to change that at all. Actually, that's going to stay the same. We're just adding this, we're expanding with this kind of free-to-play model, as well as the premium titles. They're obviously worried they're going to upset the existing fan base. But just to finish off what VGC said, the publisher said on Tuesday, the current fiscal year ending March 31st, 2022 will include the release of Far Cry 6 and Rainbow Six Quarantine by September 30th, plus Riders Republic, The Division Heartland, and Roller Champions. So I suppose they kind of make up, don't they, some of their more AAA offerings, Rich, Rainbow Six, Far Cry, in addition to Assassin's Creed. And
I'll come back to it in a minute. Finish off and I'll come back. I'll double back on that one.
And it confirmed during its earnings call that it has no AAA games scheduled for release during the second half of the fiscal year, which includes the Christmas season, which is a bit worrying, I suppose, isn't it? Open world pirate game Skull and Bones was planned for release during the current fiscal year, but Ubisoft said on Tuesday that it had been delayed yet again. Have a big sad. I love the look of that game.
Yeah, agreed.
The game is now scheduled for release during its next fiscal year, beginning in April 2022. So certainly this tells you, doesn't it, that Ubisoft is not happy with their financial performance. They're probably looking towards what companies like EA, I reckon, bang out a load of free-to-play games, get wider market spread, and then monetize the hell out of them with in-game, in-app purchases or whatever. But what do you make of it all, mate? And come back to us on the
right. So I'm gonna ask you, so what I call AAA games. You give me an idea of the time scale in which it took to make those games. Breath of the Wild. That was 7-8 years in development.
Yeah, a long time. It's hard, isn't it? What do you measure it by, though? Is it just the quality of the graphics, the production? Is it to be a AAA game? Does it have to rank as one of the top caliber games? So it's hard to say what do you measure it by. But
Well, I get what you're saying. The point I'm trying to make is you can't produce unless you've got hundreds of games in production at any one time. It's impossible to release 3 or 4 AAA games a year. AAA games take 7 or 8 years. We know that to be the timeline. So unless you've got hundreds in development, so you can have 3 or 4 a year, are they really AAA games? I feel like that's a
when
stretch.
They say AAA, I think they mean like Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, Far Cry. What was this one that released recently? Their new IP looked very much like Breath of the Wild, but it was set in was it Greek gods? I forget what that. Phoenix Rising.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
I presume they mean these are the sort of AAAs, but I appreciate what you're saying. I think it realistically, I think the only AAA I'd really say they have is IP is Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I've sort of gone off on a tangent there. I mean, this is cool. I do think it needs what you just said, them to clarify that they don't mean they're not going to be doing AAA titles. Obviously, that's a contentious point in my mind. Each year, they mean as well as that. It does seem like they want to expand their offering each year to, like you say, increase their revenue, because we have seen a few times that their revenue and their sales have not been where they've wanted them to be. That has stemmed more often than not because the games that they've been producing have not been outstanding. They've been, we've spoken a number of times about Ubisoft's problem that they're producing mediocre games more often than not that are very formulaic to other games that are out there, rather than pushing the boundaries on new things that interest people and that really go to town. Assassin's Creed was just full of bugs and problems and got sort of panned in the media for it. But, I guess they've got...
I think they have some nice ideas, don't they? But they just don't... It's almost sometimes they try and cover too much ground.
Yeah.
And like you say, that perhaps leans into it becoming more formulaic, game tropey. I think Assassin's Creed was heavily criticised for the way it kind of filled out this 60-plus hour campaign, and it was just almost too long and fatiguing. I wish there'd be more. They'd be a bit more. They were altered a little bit better instead of what seems like hundreds of ideas thrown into a hat and kind of roughly carved into a final article that just doesn't quite achieve the level of some games we see. But for me, mate, I want Ubisoft, however you pronounce it, to be, to do well in this, industry. I think they've created some great games and franchises over their years, and obviously they've got a fan base. We want to see that carry on. What I don't want to see is a games industry saturated with free-to-play, shovelware that are just monetized to the high heaven. I just, that isn't my idea of, a binary Arcadia in the gaming world.
Nice.
But I don't know what you feel on that one.
No,
do you like free-to-play games? Do we even play that many free-to-play games?
Don't know. Well, that's an interesting one, because we do play some free-to-play games. We're on the PlayStation Plus to give games away every month. But I guess
I think that we're talking like Fortnite,
then no, we categorically don't. I would say, not that we wouldn't. They're all just a bit naff, unfortunately. To us anyway. I know they have real big fan bases, so I don't want to poo-poo on them. But yeah, they just don't appeal. I think the biggest problem I have with Ubisoft more generally is they're not brave enough with their decisions with what games they're going to make. They're too concerned about making games that everyone's going to like or everyone's going to enjoy, and it's not breaking the mold. They need to be more dynamic with the games they're making and choose, more interesting things to make games about. Because, we see lots of people taking punts on stuff, and they do really well because it's new, it's fresh, people are interested in it, it gets good reviews. So yeah, that's my biggest problem with Ubisoft. But yeah, cool. If they need to increase their revenue stream, and I guess they've seen others do similar things, then that's why they're moving to this, I'm guessing.
Bang on, mate. I mean, I could talk more, but I think we should move on. Otherwise, we're just going to turn this into an Ubisoft video. Absolutely.
Right. Moving on to Steam coming to consoles. Interesting. This comes from Tech Radar. Gabe Newell, the co-founder and president of Valve, has hinted that the company could bring Steam games to consoles during a recent question and answer session. The session took place at Santa Maria College in Auckland, New Zealand, and a student's question and Newell's answer were recorded and uploaded to Reddit by user Odysseic.
Yeah, I think it's a good shout, mate. I mean, what a strange venue to announce this at a college. In New Zealand, but carry on, mate.
Bizarre. And this comes from that, and that quote came from VGC. When asked, will Steam be porting any games to consoles, or will it just be on PC? Newell somewhat hesitantly replies, you will get a better idea of that by the end of the year, adding, and it won't be the answer you expect. You'll say, aha, now I get what he was talking about. Very strange. Very strange. I don't get this. When they're saying, are you going to bring Steam to consoles, are they saying they're going to bring PC games to consoles?
It's not clear. That they say in this article, what could it mean? And they say a popular suggestion is that Valve's recent VR title, Half-Life Alyx, would be a prime candidate for porting, particularly given the upcoming PSVR 2, which we mentioned and everything else this week. And they say it wasn't so long ago there was a rumour via the Gamer of Valve trying to get Xbox Game Pass on Steam, which would certainly be a twist in the tail. So it's really up for any suggestions at the minute. I was thinking, could it be something like the Switch? Could it be some collaboration with the Switch to get a cloud service that pipes Steam games onto the Switch?
Tabs' go-to.
You what?
That's your go-to. If there's a rumour about anything, it's coming to the Switch. I'm sure that's going to come to the Switch.
It's my bias. I just want the Switch to be this kind of, connective tissue between all consoles and PC as well. I'd love for it to take that place up, because that will kind of cement it as a perpetual technology that Nintendo can thrive off.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd love to see. So, but yeah, it's so vague, this response, isn't it? It could end up being nothing, especially the fact that he said this at a college. Did he just speak out of turn, maybe?
Completely agree. I think it's interesting. I look at it and think it's very inclusive. To bring Steam to consoles is very inclusive. Lots of people with games consoles miss out on really brilliant PC games because they're only on the PC. So in that sense, it could be a really good thing. My thoughts are that mainly these games, they're designed for PCs. So, if they're only on the PC, then should they only be on the PC? It's not as the people making them intended them. But
yeah, I don't know how it all works behind the scenes.
Weird.
Technology-wise, but I mean, it would be good for consumers, wouldn't it, to be able to buy something
Absolutely.
on Steam and play it on your PC, but also play it on your consoles and maybe swap save files and all that sort of thing, and cross-play, of course. So it'd be good for the gaming ecosystem, and obviously good for Steam if they can sell more games to a bigger audience.
Just to sort of grab the baton from your on the Switch, here's an interesting thought. They bring Steam to Switch and you are able to play your PC game on your PC, and then, I don't know, you go to work and you're out on the train and you can continue that PC game on the Switch while you're out and about, and then when you come back, you can carry on from wherever you were on the Switch on your PC. Now there's an idea.
Exactly. That would be awesome. And, it pays a lot of these developers these days to keep us playing games as much as possible, especially when they limit them with in-app purchases or in-game purchases. But I don't know. We shall have to see. Stay tuned on that one. Maybe at E3, you never know, we could hear something.
Absolutely. It could be very interesting, but a little bit weird the way it's come out. So maybe don't hold your breath too much on that. But let's move on to everything else and close down this show for this week. So first up, we've got over 25 first-party games in development for PlayStation Studios, half of which are new IPs.
That's fighting talk there, I think, from Jim Ryan. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart has gone gold and looks ace.
Yes, and I've read some things about that today, and it seems like people are thinking that's going to possibly one of the best in the series. I'm hearing. So, and I think we said, was it last week? It might have been the week before, that we were on the fence on this. Well, the trailer that dropped about it, I'm actually interested in this now. I think this looks quite good. So this might be a purchase for me.
I think there were some previews out there where journos didn't get hands-on, it was hands-off. They kind of got to watch stuff. But yeah, there's some good write-ups. I think I'm going to check out YouTube later on.
Absolutely. And moving on, details of a new PlayStation VR headset, dubbed truly next gen, is rumoured 4K resolution and vibration function for haptic feedback. Could be very interesting. Something as well is rumoured, something to do with following your eye motion, something I don't really understand. So you will have to have a look into that one. But yeah, really cool.
Yeah, I think the suggestion is basically that the Sony are going out big with their VR, PSVR 2 offering, and perhaps it's going to kind of hit up at the top of the market in terms of cutting edge VR setups.
I mean, does that suggest that it's going to be, because I think if you buy a top end VR headset, it's only like £1,200. So does that mean?
Well, yeah, but because it's Sony, because it'll be mass produced, they'll be able to undercut that somewhat.
Yeah, very true.
I don't know. Maybe. Would you think £400 odd?
I think that's where it needs to be. Although that's still a sting. That's like almost
still a sting on top of the PS5, isn't it? Maybe even lower.
If you buy a digital, that's more than a digital PS5. So, but it's chock full of tech, so it's possible.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see on this one. And then lastly, we've got a new colour of DualSense controller has dropped, Cosmic Red and Midnight Black. I've already pre-ordered my Midnight Black in a impulse purchase. And Rich, I think, is going to follow suit.
Yes, absolutely. I love the red. It's a beautiful red. It just doesn't really fit. Doesn't really fit with my aesthetic that I have going on. I somewhat feel annoyed a little bit because I've already got 2 controllers, but I want a black one, so I'm probably going to with 3 controllers. And I've only got 2, so I can cycle through one charger while one's being used. So yeah, bit of a shame. Maybe I shouldn't have got a second one on launch, but nevertheless.
Basically, mate, 6-player PES is going to have to be a thing once we can visit each other's houses again.
Yeah, basically. Right, that's it for this week in the news. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give us a like. It really helps feed the algorithms and get this out to the people who want to see this. If you're new here and you've liked it, give us a subscribe. We'd love to have you join the channel. As always, if you want to talk about any of the news topics this week, get down in the comments, drop us a comment. We like to try and respond to all of them. But I think, till next week, That's all we've got time for. Another one for the archive.
Dancing completed.